Good day, my beautiful children. Today is Tuesday, April the 21st. And today we're learning about TV pilots. And so, for those of you who don't know how television works, how do you decide what gets on TV and what doesn't? Well, basically, the way it works is that pretty much every TV show begins as a pilot. So what a pilot is it's a rough draft or a rough outline or treatment of a proposed show. There's a couple different ways that pilots are created. The most common way is out of scratch, out of thin air. People come up with ideas. There are people that's their job is to write TV pilots. Sometimes a famous actor or TV celebrity will shoot their own pilot using their own money. Um, and sometimes, rarely, but sometimes the networks will approach someone who's famous and ask them to create a pilot to pitch to the network. The first thing you need to know about pilots is that the vast majority of them die right then and there. They get created, they get shot and pitched, and they die. Most pilots never make it past that stage. Um, so the way it works is every year in the summer in New York City, they have meetings that are called upfronts. And what an upfront is, I think of it like it's a big supermarket for television. So network executives and advertising executives will get together at these meetings, and every network has a head of programming for different genres of television. So there might be a head of programming for sports and a head of programming for drama and et cetera, et cetera. And they go to these upfronts with like a shopping list of shows that they want. So if I'm the head of programming for NBC, I would go into these meetings knowing, okay, I need a buddy comedy for Tuesday nights, or I'm looking for a cop drama for Wednesday. And then advertisers show up too because they're looking for the right match for them uh, to couple, to get together with and to get their commercials shown on. So the people that shoot these pilots, that are pitching these pilots, they show up as well, and the pilots are screened, and then there's a bidding war. The networks will bid on the pilots, and so will the advertisers. That's how it works. And like I said, the vast majority of these never see the light of day. So what I'm telling you is, out there in the ether, in the universe, are all kinds of pilots. Some good, most terrible, starring people that you probably know and love, and no one's ever seen them. So that's the way it works. Um, and the thing I would tell you is, it's a crapshoot. Like there is no such thing as a sure thing. There are ideas for for pilots that you think would be awesome that never make it, and there are terrible ideas that end up getting on TV. There are big name Hollywood movie stars and TV stars that you would think is, even as long as their name is attached to the pilot, it'll make it, and it doesn't. So it just, you never know. And then so what happens then typically is, once a pilot is optioned, or in other words, a network decides that they're going to put it on, they will give notes to the people that shot the pilot, and usually the pilot is then reshot, often as the very first episode of the show. So I'm going to link a couple of pilots to this lesson so you guys get an idea. Um, but if you go back, like if you own the box set of certain famous shows, and they have the pilot on there, it's kind of cool to look at it to see what their original ideas were. So, for example, if you've ever seen the pilot episode for Friends, and if you guys are fans of that show, um, it if you watch it, it's basically the show Friends, except it's all of the characters, and it's like they're on steroids. So, like, you know, Ross, who's this neurotic, sad sack, throughout the show, in the pilot episode, he's like I didn't even know how to describe it. You have to watch it, but he's, everything is so terrible, and he's so sad, and he sits in the corner and he moans, and then Joey, who's supposed to be this macho guy, um, he's wearing all leather, and every other word is "hey yo hey," and he's like super manly. And Chandler, who's supposed to be the smart ass, every 5 seconds he's got a ridiculous comment. And Phoebe, who's supposed to be the ditz, is basically functionally handicapped on the. I mean, she can barely string two words together. So it's the show, and it's all the characters that you came to know and love, fleshed out, as a rough draft for the networks. And then you can see how they gave notes. They came back and gave notes and said, we like this, but do it this way or change this. I'm going to link the pilot episode for Seinfeld. That's a really good example of, where the creators of the show have these ideas, and then the networks will come back and give them notes. So, for example, the very first episode of Seinfeld, you have Jerry and George, and they're basically on equal footing. And if you know the show Seinfeld, you know that George was always kind of the the follower, but in the pilot episode, they're kind of on equal footing. And the apartment looks totally different. Um, One of the scenes takes place in a coffee shop, and there's this sassy waitress that has like 10 lines. You can tell that she's going to be a big part of the show, a character on the show. And Kramer, the Jerry's neighbor, is in the show, but his name is Kessler. So anyway, they reshot the pilot, and it became the first episode of Seinfeld. And and you could see the changes. The apartment looks different. George is now kind of like subservient to Jerry, and Jerry's the main character. The waitress is in the episode, but she has one line: "Do you want coffee?" That's it. So you could see the network said lose the waitress. Um, Kramer's name is now Kramer. It's not Kessler, it's Kramer. So you can see they changed that. And then they add the character of Elaine. So you could see where the network said, well, we want a female character, but we don't want it to be this waitress. So lose the waitress, add this character. And that happens quite a bit. It's pretty well known BG lore that the pilot episode of the original Roseanne show in the 80s, the kid that played the brother on the pilot episode was from BG, went to our high school. And the network loved the show, loved all the ideas, hated the brother. They said, lose this actor. And they hired a different kid. And so that, we could have had a famous person from BG, and the network said, get rid of this, dump this kid. So that happens quite a bit. And then, so what happens is the show is optioned, and they shoot the pilot and typically order 3 episodes. And then they'll watch the ratings real close after those 3 episodes air, and we'll talk about ratings tomorrow. But if the ratings are good enough, then the network will sign a contract, usually for half a season, which is usually 8 to 10 shows. And then typically from then on until the show gets really big and becomes a bona fide hit, they'll do it half season to half season. So there are a lot of shows where they don't make it past the first 3 episodes. They get 3 shot, and then they get canceled. That happens all the time. Okay, so that is what pilots are. Now your assignment, this is a short lesson today, because your assignment, this is going to be fun. I want you to write your own TV pilot. Okay. I know you're thinking, oh, Mr. Hudak, I'm not a TV person, or I'm so dumb. Listen, I'm telling you, you can do this. Any idiot can do this. So think of, like, I don't know, if we were in class, I would tell you, I'd have one person give me one word, I'd have one person give me another word, and then I would like put those words together and make a title, and then I'd make a show. So you have to have a title for your show, and then I want a paragraph. That's it. You can do more if you want, but a minimum paragraph just of a brief synopsis. So here's my example. You're going to love this. So this is called The Quarantine Kids. And that's my title. And then the show is a dramedy. So it's a half comedy, half drama about a high school pop culture class that while in school gets stuck in the school after the governor orders a shelter in place because of a global pandemic. I know that sounds insane. Like a global pandemic, really, Mr. Hudak? That's not realistic. But just go with it. Play with me on this, okay? Um, so that's it. That's my synopsis. That's all you have to do. So turn that into me. I'll put um, a Google Doc for you guys to turn that in. It is due tomorrow, and so due by Wednesday. And then on Thursday, our game day, we're going to play Factor Crap. I have a bunch of real pilots that were shot that you've never heard of, and so I'll read the real ones and mix in your fake ones, and you guys are going to play Factor Crap and tell me which ones are real and which ones are fake. We do this in class, and it's fun. You guys will enjoy it. All right, so that's all about pilots, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love.